Brisbane started as a punishment, a prison camp so brutal that convicts in Sydney feared being sent there. Its soldiers once rioted against their own allies in the streets. Its finest hotel was bulldozed at 1 a.m. to stop protesters saving it. It flooded, it struck, it sprawled, and along the way, it quietly became one of the fastest-growing cities in the Western world. In 1824, the British established Moreton Bay Penal Settlement, hundreds of miles north of Sydney. This isn't for ordinary convicts. This is secondary punishment for prisoners who committed crimes after their first conviction. The settlement sits along the Brisbane River, surrounded by dense bushland. Guards watch over work gangs clearing land and building rough structures. This isn't meant to be a city. It's punishment, plain and simple. The old windmill rises over the settlement, built by convict labor to grind grain for the colony. But the convicts build it wrong. The sails never work. Instead, prisoners are forced to walk treadmills inside to power the grinding stones, turning punishment into the mill's actual function. The windmill becomes a site of floggings and executions. Nearly 200 years later, it still stands, the oldest surviving building in Queensland. Hamilton Road curves along the Brisbane River, and the old penal settlement is transforming into something almost pleasant. Trees line the waterfront road that will one day be known as Kingsford Smith Drive. The river provides the main highway, boats carrying goods and people along its winding course. In 1842, the penal settlement closes and free settlers start arriving, reshaping Brisbane from a place of punishment into a proper town. The landscape is still mostly empty, but the city is coming. Brisbane emerges as the main commercial center of the colony, and the river is its lifeblood. Ships crowd the wharves, loading wool and coal bound for other colonies, while unloading manufactured goods from Britain and Sydney. Water transport dominates because roads are still primitive and railways limited. The river connects Brisbane to Ipswich and the interior, where farms and mines feed the growing city. Conrad Martins paints Brisbane from across the river, and the former penal settlement looks almost pastoral. The town clusters along the riverbank, small and scattered, surrounded by endless bushland. Brisbane is barely 30 years old as a free settlement, home to maybe 7,000 people, a quiet colonial outpost, far from the excitement of Sydney or Melbourne. But Queensland will become its own colony in 4 years, and Brisbane will be its capital. In the 1860s, gold is discovered in Queensland. Gympie, north of Brisbane, strikes in 1867, and it saves the young colony from bankruptcy. Prospectors, merchants, and fortune seekers pour through Brisbane on their way to the gold fields. The money flows back. New buildings rise. The population surges. Brisbane goes from sleepy outpost to boomtown almost overnight. Brisbane spreads across both sides of the river, and the city is finally taking shape. The grid pattern extends from the central business district, while bridges span the water connecting north and south. Ships crowd the wharves along the Serpentine Waterway. Queensland has been a separate colony for 27 years, and Brisbane serves as its administrative and commercial heart. The population has grown past 90,000. Railways now connect Brisbane to regional centers, bringing goods and people to the capital. The city is building itself into something substantial. Looking down Gloucester Street from Gladstone Road, Brisbane's residential neighborhoods spread across the hills, still mostly empty land waiting for development. Wooden fences line the dirt road. A few houses dot the landscape, but this is still the edge of town. Within a decade, these paddocks will fill with homes as Brisbane's population explodes. The city is about to boom. The Great Flood hits Brisbane in February 1893, and Queen Street disappears under several feet of water. People row boats down what is normally the main shopping district, navigating between submerged storefronts. The Brisbane River breaks its banks after weeks of heavy rain, inundating the central business district and low-lying areas. 3 major floods strike within a single month, the worst one drowning the city center. Buildings collapse. Businesses are destroyed. The flood kills dozens and leaves thousands homeless. Brisbane will recover, but the river's power to destroy becomes a threat the city never forgets. Workers pack Albert Square during the general strike of 1912, and Brisbane is paralyzed. Thousands of union members march with banners demanding better conditions and wages. The strike spreads across Brisbane's tramways, wharves, and industries, shutting down the city for weeks. Tensions run high as workers face off against employers and the government. The strike eventually collapses, but it marks a turning point in Australian labour relations. The confrontation shapes Brisbane's working-class politics for generations, creating divisions that will last decades. Brisbane's first local government power station rises on the site of the city's former racecourse. The Art Deco building takes from 1926 to 1930 to complete, joined by 9 substations that create an electricity network across Brisbane. The system powers the expanding tram network and brings electric light to suburbs like Yeronga, Ithaca, and Taringa. Electric power is transforming Brisbane from a colonial town into a modern city. Brisbane State High School rises on its South Brisbane site. The imposing brick building represents Queensland's commitment to secondary education for all, not just the wealthy. When it opens, it will be one of the first state-funded high schools in Queensland, offering academic education to students who previously had no options beyond primary school. The classical architecture gives the school an air of permanence and authority. Brisbane is investing in its future. Brisbane City Hall dominates King George Square, and its clock tower soars 295 feet into the sky. Completed in 1930, this massive building houses the City Council and Concert Hall, becoming the tallest building in Brisbane and the symbol of civic pride. The Italian Renaissance design makes a statement. Brisbane has arrived as a real city, not just a colonial outpost. The building costs nearly £1 million, an enormous sum during the Depression. Queen Street meets Creek Street at Brisbane's busiest intersection, and the city skyline is filling with substantial buildings. Trams clatter down the center of Queen Street while automobiles share the road. Art Deco towers are starting to appear among the older Victorian structures. Brisbane is modernizing fast, shedding its reputation as a sleepy tropical town. The population has passed 300,000, and the city is becoming a genuine metropolis. Brisbane stretches along both banks of the river, and the City Hall clock tower dominates the skyline. The city has weathered the Depression, though not without scars. Ships and ferries crowd the river, still the main transportation artery through the city. The skyline is a mix of Victorian buildings and newer Art Deco structures. Smoke rises from industrial areas. Brisbane is still compact, most development hugging the river within a few miles of the city center. The population sits around 350,000. Within a few years, World War II will transform Brisbane into a major military hub. The Story Bridge spans the Brisbane River, connecting the northern and southern sides of the city. Completed in 1940, it's the longest cantilever bridge in Australia, a steel giant that opens up the northern suburbs for development. After Pearl Harbor, General Douglas MacArthur moves his Southwest Pacific headquarters to Brisbane. American troops flood the city, outnumbering local residents at times. The Americans bring money, jazz, nylon stockings, and a confidence that both fascinates and infuriates the locals. On the night of November 26, 1942, it boils over. A fight between American and Australian soldiers near the PX Canteen on Adelaide Street escalates into a full-scale riot. Thousands of servicemen brawl through the city centre. One Australian private is shot dead by an American MP. The military censors the incident from the newspapers. Most Australians won't hear about it for decades. They call it the Battle of Brisbane. Brisbane transforms from a provincial capital into a modern subtropical metropolis. The post-war boom brings suburban sprawl and new bridges spanning the river. Air conditioning arrives, and suddenly the tropical climate is livable year-round. Suburbs push outward into former farmland. The city grows horizontally, low-rise, car-dependent, endless. In January 1974, the river strikes again. Cyclone Wanda dumps torrential rain across southeast Queensland, and Brisbane floods for the first time in 80 years. The river rises over 6 meters. Thousands of homes are inundated. 14 people die. Entire suburbs disappear under brown water. The city that forgot the river's power is reminded brutally. In the 1970s and 80s, under Premier Jo Bjelke-Petersen, Brisbane tears down its own history. Heritage buildings are demolished overnight to prevent preservation orders. Victorian facades disappear. In their place, concrete towers. The Bellevue Hotel, one of Brisbane's finest colonial buildings, is bulldozed at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday in April 1979 to avoid protesters. Demolition crews move in under cover of darkness while police hold back the crowd. The city trades its character for development money. The 1982 Commonwealth Games puts Brisbane on the world stage, but the city that greets the world has already lost much of the face it once had. Then comes Expo '88. For 6 months, Brisbane hosts the world. 15 million visitors pour through the South Bank site. For a city used to being ignored, it's a revelation. Brisbane realizes it can be something more than a regional capital. The Expo site becomes South Bank Parklands, and the city starts reinventing itself. In January 2011, the river rises again. This time, it's worse than 1974. Over 20,000 homes are flooded. The CBD is underwater. Brisbane watches in disbelief as the brown current swallows entire neighborhoods. 3 floods in 120 years, 1893, 1974, 2011. The river gives Brisbane its life, and every few decades it takes some of it back. The population explodes past 2.5 million as people flood in from Sydney, Melbourne, and overseas. The old river city transforms into a subtropical metropolis, with a skyline that would have been unrecognizable a generation earlier. In 2032, Brisbane will host the Olympic Games, the final confirmation that the prison camp on the river has become a world city. Today, the convict windmill still stands on a hill overlooking the skyline. Nearly 200 years separate it from the glass towers below. Brisbane began as a place no one wanted to be. Now, 3 million people call it home. Still growing. Still sprawling. Still finding out what it wants to become.